Hello, my name is Alexandria Hammer, and today I'm going to be explaining some of the structural changes that can happen with a mastectomy with under the muscle reconstruction. This is going to specifically be taking a look at how it will impact physical fitness, in particular yoga, and some of the other changes which might not be so comfortable that you might or might not know about with the surgery. So I've drawn out a rough sketch here, and these are your ribs. We have your muscle, your pectoralis major, drawn in red, and the purple circle here is supposed to represent your breast. For a more accurate look at these structures, I've printed this out. So your pectoralis major is actually composed of all of these smaller muscles here, and they attach at your clavicle, along your sternum, and then some of your ribs going down to your sixth rib. So we have this all connected here to these bones, and then it's also going to connect right here to your humerus. So we have these two anchor points on this muscle. So your ribs are here, and then lying over top of them is going to be the pectoralis major. Lying over top of that is going to be your breast. So when we have a mastectomy and under the muscle reconstructive surgery, it's going to change these structures. They're going to make an incision along the lower border of your pectoralis major. The implant is then going to be put underneath your muscle, and your breast is an organ which is held in there because it's an organ and our bodies are connected. But when you put this other structure in, this isn't connected to anything, and your skin isn't going to keep it up, because all your skin really does is provide a blanket to the structures that are underneath them. So in order to keep it up, they put a sling in, and it's made of what's called a dermal matrix, which is basically cadaver skin in like a mesh sheet, kind of like a hammock. They're going to be sewing this into your chest wall, specifically to your fascia. So this is all getting sewn in here, but they're also going to sew it into the lower border of your pectoralis major. And what that's going to do is kind of change the way your muscles are structured, as well as the stress it'll place in certain positions. So when you compare these two, your pectoralis major, when there's nothing underneath it, is going to sit a little bit different, and it's going to act a little bit different when you go to recruit it. But now you have this structure underneath it, and as you can see, it kind of changes the way the muscle is going to lie over that structure. Then, as you're using your muscle, it's going to be pulling on your chest wall here. So that's definitely a big change. And then again, keep in mind, you're cutting part of this muscle to put something underneath it. Let's take a look at it from a different position. So this is going to be your chest wall in black. We have your pectoralis major here in red. The purple structure is your natural breast, and these little squiggly lines are going to be your veins, your nerves, and your arteries. And these are all connected through your breast, and they also kind of connect to the skin that way. So that's why we have sensation in our skin. And what happens when you take this organ out, it changes the sensation and the way it's vasculated. So chest wall, we have your pec major. This is going to be your skin, and this is going to be your breast, which is being removed. So we now have also the veins and the nerves, and all of this is going along with the breast. So now these have all kind of been severed. Happily, your body is smart and it's very resilient, and these will provide new pathways and sort of reconnect over time. Your nerve endings might or might not come back. I don't have any sensation in my breasts, and it's been about maybe 8 months since my surgery, but I've heard that it can come back up to about like 60%. The exact numbers I'm not entirely sure of, so please don't hold me to those. So we have the chest wall. We now have an implant, which is being placed in. One of the things that can happen is the implant can get cold. Your body does not have enough resources to heat this implant because your heat is going to be coming from your chest, and it's also going to be coming a bit from this muscle, but it's just not enough to heat this entire structure. So sometimes you will have cold breasts. They do make thermal bras for this. I've often wondered how this would play out if I was mountain climbing, because it gets very, very cold up there. That is a hobby I had prior to having cancer. Hopefully it's a hobby I can have again in the future, but it was something that crossed my mind. So now we have this breast implant, and we have the pec major going over top of it. And as you can see, this is definitely different than it lying underneath. We have the dermal matrix creating a little capsule to hold this implant in, and it's being sewn into the chest wall, specifically your fascia, and it's being sewn into the pectoralis major. So again, when you recruit this muscle, it's going to be pulling on your chest wall. So that does create a lot of restriction. You're going to be a bit hunched over after this surgery, and it'll take time to be able to do proper chest openings. I feel like a lot of my flexibility has returned, but again, it takes time and it's not something you want to rush into, because if you do, you can rip the stitches that adhere to the chest wall, and then you have to go for another reconstruction, which definitely sucks. All right, to just review everything we've covered, we have your chest wall. You're going to be a bit hunched over and restricted at first because this dermal matrix is being sewn into your fascia and it's being sewn into your pectoralis major. Because of the removed organ and the severed nerve and veins, you're going to have less circulation, less vasculation, if you will. You're going to have less innervation, so less feeling, and maybe no feeling. At first, most likely no feeling. The muscle has been cut as well, so it's not going to be anchored the same way it was previously. In here, they're going to make an incision somewhere along here. I'm not exactly sure, and I think it varies from surgeon to surgeon, but nonetheless, this muscle is not going to be the same as it was. It's going to be skewed. So I think that covers everything. Hopefully this has been helpful in some way.